YUKO SUZUHANA, who is obviously so famous for Wagakki Band, but is also involved in a lot of other projects, including solo stuff so much. Anyway, she's got a new song. Came out in the last 24 hours, but because I was supporting my friend with his extremely long marathon live stream, I didn't even see this song come out until, well, someone just sort of popped into my Discord and said, "Hey, Howard, are you aware of this?" I was like, oh, I didn't know there's a new YUKO SUZUHANA song. I am a massive fan of hers, although it must be said that I often forget about all the side projects she's involved in. You know, like Wagakki Band itself came from another project, the name of which I keep on forgetting, even though I've done a couple of reactions to it. Obviously, she works off and on with various members from Wagakki Band in other projects. You get the fact that she's married to the koto player. I mean, this is kind of like a group of extremely skilled people who work in various formations and configurations to create these several groups. So when this says it's a YUKO SUZUHANA song, I would normally just think, cool, YUKO SUZUHANA. But as with the last one, there was little elements of Wagakki, and I have no idea what to expect here. All I know is that she's a superb vocalist, just one of the greatest vocalists of all time, in my opinion. And she's got a new song. And the fact that I don't know what to expect is kind of making me even more excited. So enough waffle, shall we get into this one? Just checking if the sound and everything's set up properly. And right, here we go. YUKO SUZUHANA, a new song. What's it called? It is called Castella Basara? Oh, Castella Basara. Sounds a bit like Kesara. I have no idea. Let's go. I am really bad with katakana, clear. I like hiragana, fine, obviously. Kanji, I've started learning a lot of kanji, but I feel like the more kanji you learn, the less you use katakana. Is that just me? Or maybe there's a lot of katakana in kanji, though. Anyway, should we get in with it? Got a beautiful, spacious build-up. Where are we going? Okay, this has got a little bit of a poppy feel to it. I almost feel like this backing could come up in a Chiari song. But we got YUKO. Okay. I am quite surprised. This mix of sounds, it sounds so comfortable. You can feel the Japanese aspect, and yet they've really presented it as a pop song. Now, I know a lot of the songs that YUKO SUZUHANA works on are like covers and Vocaloid covers. I wonder if that's what this is and I've missed something, but... Ooh, nice switch up on the rhythm there. Love that. It's still got that beautiful sound. But it's poppy too. This is gonna get properly stuck in my head. Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. I feel like you can put koto and shamisen in anything. Pop, EDM, rock, rap, anything. This is like, do you know what? This is flowing very well as well, you know? It's not getting stuck and repetitive. And I think it's because of all those little details. Wow, that's... Oh, and a little bit of shakuhachi at the end there. Okay. Okay, do you know... I had no idea what to expect. I got certain little hints from looking at this, from just like little bits I saw of the instruments, that this might have been the same people who were on the last YUKO SUZUHANA song, which obviously was more directly aiming towards having a bit of a Wagakki-esque look. This definitely was, right down to having like the choreographed dance moves and everything. This was obviously playing in a much more pop space. Now, the thing is that when you're looking at the video, you're seeing like choreographed dance moves, you're seeing dancers, you're seeing kind of like the flashing lights and everything. And that kind of is obviously swaying your ear towards more taking this in as a pop song, which is obviously that's the side that they wanted to accentuate of this song. And it does have some very sort of dancey pop elements to it. But when you just sort of think about the audio as well, it does still feel, it feels so comfortably between those two spaces of being kind of like a poppy, dancey kind of song that you could play in a poppy setting, and also being something that would fit beautifully alongside a playlist of other songs by YUKO SUZUHANA, which have that traditional Japanese aspect, even alongside Wagakki Band songs that tend to be a little bit more rock and metal. This definitely would fit beautifully alongside all of them, because it manages to, again, walk the balance that makes YUKO SUZUHANA and Wagakki songs sound so individual and so unique. And this isn't just the Japanese instruments, but the way that they layer things together, they put all these sounds together so that they work so seamlessly in that kind of beautiful, well, dare I say, harmony. Wagakki Band. So, I think this is a very, very nicely put together song. Now, the interesting thing, of course, being is that as I'm talking about it having these poppier aspects, and the fact that, well, also in that sense, it definitely feels like a song that should be a single. It feels like a single. It feels catchy. The question that often comes up when we talk about songs that have that single-esque poppy quality is, okay, are these songs therefore maybe... yeah, they're kind of the more for the masses. They're not so true to the artist's real sound, blah, blah, blah. This is one of the things that works so well about YUKO SUZUHANA, is that even when she's doing a slightly more poppy, catchy song, you don't lose those qualities that make the music sound, well, very pure. You still have a very firm hand on that side, which is the traditional Japanese music. When the koto and shamisen come in, it's not just some sort of meaningless flavoring put in there to give it a slightly Japanese-esque feel. It's like, no, they're actually playing really interesting things. They're playing together in a way that you can tell is the product of really talented musicians, as obviously we've got here, who actually value their art and want to bring it and layer it over a song that is a little bit more poppy in its design. It's beautiful because if you are a fan of poppy music, as I often am, it gives you a way in to enjoying something a bit different, but something with a lot of quality, with some real musicianship, but also still has that nice, solid sort of dancey beat that you get under something a little bit more EDM and pop. When I said about the Kyari Pami Pami comparison, the reason I said that is because, I'm a big fan of hers as well, but obviously Kyari Pami Pami's style of singing is much more of a traditional kind of light and breezy and kind of bouncy pop style. She hasn't got the big, thick style of singing that you'd expect from YUKO SUZUHANA, where it's those sort of more projected style vocals. But, at the same time, you're looking at sort of dancey songs, and very often Kyari plays with, when she's Nakata Yasutaka, who's the producer on the vast majority of her songs, pretty much all of them, he often plays with these sounds that tend to be a little bit quirky, often referencing things like traditional Japanese music in songs like Ninjari Bang Bang and stuff like that. So, she often has those little allusions to slightly more quirky, interesting sounds in her music. And that's why I felt a comparison here, because in the same way that you could say that Kyari's music gives you a poppy beat, but then allows you to sort of alludes to something a little bit different, and there's almost like a gateway into some other sounds. I feel like YUKO SUZUHANA is doing that, but much more directly standing on that border, bringing those extra sounds to the song, but being played, but like I say, by sort of professional musicians and live instruments, which is a different way of doing it. And I'm not saying either's better or worse. I'm just saying it's pulling off the same effect. But where this also has that secondary effect is that if you're a fan of traditional Japanese music, as once again I am, definitely a fan of both the areas that this is aiming for, this again feels very true to that. It feels like you could view it from that standpoint and say, well, I'm not really into pop, I'm in traditional Japanese music, but as anyone should do if you're into a genre of music, you want to hear it blend with other things and try other things without losing its core soul, its core sound, the things that make it what it is. And for me, this is doing that. You know, if you love Japanese music, you get all of those beautiful qualities, the beautiful vocals of YUKO SUZUHANA, which are projected in the way that she always does, just beautifully. Keep on using the word beautiful. It's a very useful adjective for this particular review. And then the instrumentation, like I say, being played in a way that is very honest, very real. You know, hearing the instruments sound, just everything sounds great. It sounds like, you know, real. You know, it doesn't sound faked, it doesn't sound overproduced, and just this marries those two things together beautifully. So what's the end effect? Well, the end effect for me is a song that definitely is catchy. It works, as I say, in both of those particular areas of musical taste, and then on top of that, it flows in a way that is quite concise. You know, for a song that only goes, well, it goes on for about 4 minutes. It's a fairly normal length song, not too long, not super short either. I feel like it gets to the point. You know, it's always got little changes and things happening in it that keep it sounding fresh. You know, all the way through, even when it was building up to the first chorus, it went through a few changes en route to that, and a lot of that was down to a good little bit of writing, but also just having those instrumental bits popping in and out, and just changes of the layering of instruments you got in there. So it's a song that doesn't get restlessly into, hey, we got a cool sound, let's loop it. It's a song that goes, hey, we got a cool basis, we got a nice beat, we got a cool like core to this song. Now let's add color to it. Let's add some flourishes. Let's add like development to the melody. Let's add little bits where the shamisen and koto come in, you know, much more forcefully in the chorus, right down to the bit at the end where you got like so I was talking about the chorus there, but right at the end, you got that last little bit where there's a bit of shakuhachi comes in. Now, maybe I just wasn't really paying attention to the right bits, but I didn't notice much shakuhachi in the rest of the song at all. And then you got this little drum thing again, which I pointed out in the last YUKO SUZUHANA song, which is like, you think one tiny drum, that one tiny drum seems to do a lot of work, seems to achieve a lot of things. I love the presentation. The presentation was just like this gorgeous mixture of styles as well. I feel like every single bit of this, it was done by people who clearly love, you know, YUKO SUZUHANA's team, I'm sure, clearly love the traditional side, but as well, it genuinely felt like it wasn't sort of playing at parodying pop. It actually felt like it had some good pop chops behind it, you know, good bit of fun choreography, all these kind of things. For me, this was just a really lovely example of a well executed example of mixing genres together and not at the expense of either one. YUKO SUZUHANA, as always, delivering. Her team of people she works with are absolutely fantastic, and quality begats quality, eh? Great stuff. Can't wait to hear more. If this is leading up to an album, then we're 2 for 2 on really good songs. Let me know if there's been any other songs from assumedly an upcoming album release that I didn't notice. Tell me if you know more about the team of people behind this. Tell me if you know more about this song. Love to hear about it. As always, YUKO SUZUHANA is one of those artists where she's one of the artists I respect most, but I have to be honest, I do not really follow up as much on her stuff as I should. I get the feeling that it's like when I talk about things like Bang Dream and stuff like that, it's like there is such a world of things going on in the background and so many different variations and alternate groups that I think maybe it's just a little bit overwhelming. So I tend to take a very surface view of just enjoying the music and not really paying too much attention to what's going on in the background. But by all means, let me know. I've seen obviously videos from like earlier in her career when she was just performing solo and doing little demos and things, and always been very interested in her music. But yeah, I must admit, I'm not super aware of the family tree of all the people involved in her team and everything. Anyway, there you go. Those are my thoughts. As always, get in the comments. Tell me what you think. And until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan for the next one, Lees. For now, coffee time. Ciao, ciao.